This is happiness, to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Mood Prep. My name is Dave Nixon, and we're going to talk about anxiety again today. I feel like, and I think, not just feel, anxiety, anxiousness is a really big focal point for today's society, and a lot of people feel crippled with it. A lot of people take medication for it. A lot of people I'm going to use this term, misdiagnose themselves with anxiety. A lot of people treat it like it's out of their control. A lot of people act like they have no impact on it, right? Because sometimes things are out of our control in some degree of the word, but some people also act like they have absolutely no impact on it, as if anxiety is happening to them. It's not, they've got no involvement in it. Now, maybe there's extreme cases with that as well, and I'm not saying we should definitely get off any medication. And I'm framing this because it's important to have a very large integrated viewpoint of a situation, any situation, whether it be setting up a business, to a mental health difficulty, to a physical health difficulty, to a relationship, to training, to anything. We want to take an integrated approach. So that's where things such as medication can play a role, support groups, community, the objective body itself, as well as the way that we think and feel. And so when we are suffering from something like this, we have to look at it and go, okay, well, what areas are within my control and what areas are not within my control? And things that are outside of your control, we have to be able to look at it and go, okay, well, if that's outside of my control, how do I choose to either associate myself with that person or situation, or make sure that I don't associate myself with that situation? That's one way. The other way to look at it is to go, how can I make sure that in the future, in that situation, I don't get any anxiety, I don't have anxiousness come up, I can move through it. That's a more powerful, empowering way to view the situation, rather than simply just removing ourselves. Now, it doesn't mean we shouldn't remove ourselves. There is definitely plenty of situations and circumstances where we should remove ourselves. However, we just have to be mindful, once again, and this is all contextual and situational, that if we continue to just remove ourselves from the things that give us, inverted commas, anxiety, we never actually learn how to deal with it. We learn how to avoid it, right? And that's not dealing with it. A lot of the time, it really heavily can do with how we think and how we feel. Whether we're moving and the people we're around impact that as well. But I'm going to talk a little bit today about the thinking and feeling part of it. And it's actually because I had a conversation briefly today. I had someone contact me who I care about dearly. They're an absolutely beautiful soul. And they simply said, look, they were really struggling today. And like, hey, fucking kudos to this. Hey, like, this is one of the most important things, is that when we're struggling, to reach out about our struggle is actually a sign of strength. It's not a sign of weakness at all. In fact, not reaching out because we're afraid of what people will think of us or anything along those lines is often, I mean, yes, it's hard to call that weak, and I don't think weak's the right term, but that's not a sign of strength, right? To reach out is a sign of strength. It's courageous. And this person felt like it was really actually kind of consuming, and it hasn't been this bad in a while. We're talking about sort of struggling and anxiety, so to speak. Now, they did a couple of things, stuffed up conversations and a few other sort of things that are coming up, such as, covering shifts and stuff like that. So it became almost overwhelming. Now, I'm not in this person's head. I can't speak directly for them. This was part of the conversation that we had. Either way, it was like struggling to the point that they started to feel sick in their stomach, right? Now, I know I have related. I can relate to this at certain stages in my life. Even recently, I still find things that I find really challenging, or that bring anxiousness up within me. And it's just about being aware and conscious of that and what's going on. And they were just concerned. They didn't want to spiral into a deeper hole. It was like, what can we do? What can I do? Was the question for them, not what David could do for them, what they can do for them. in order to alleviate this pressure that was building. In that situation, one of the first things that we can do is simply acknowledge how we're feeling and honor it without any shame. Now, it might kind of sound woo-woo. Maybe it sounds like it's not objective enough, like go for a walk or some shit. But going for a walk is good for clearing the head. I think there's validity to that, and giving ourselves space. Doesn't have to be a walk. It can be meditation of some sort. It could just be some reflection time. It could be anything along those. And that's great. But actually just acknowledging and honoring what I'm feeling as a human being has so much power to it. Like, really fucking so much power. Because if we're shaming something within us that's arising, we're not actually allowing it to give full effect. It's the same for happiness. People do it with happiness. They're like, I shouldn't feel happy. I shouldn't be happy. I'm not allowed to be happy. I haven't done anything to feel happy. So the happiness arises and they then shame it, and they struggle to feel happiness, or let alone anything, because as soon as we start shaming one emotion, we don't just switch off that emotion, we actually switch off all emotion, right? And so in that circumstance, it's really about honoring the fact that I am feeling this and thinking this at this stage moment in my life, and just seeing it and acknowledging it, right? Not necessarily accepting it as truth. That's definitely not what I'm saying. But seeing it and acknowledging it is really powerful, right? Then from there, to be able to give ourselves space and literally just focus on one small task at a time. Now, it doesn't mean you shouldn't take on big tasks. It means look at the big task and break it down to small tasks. When we focus on one small task at a time, what we allow ourselves to do is simply just prioritize. Rather than having all of these competing things happening all at once, what we're able to do is simply just prioritize and go, well, what is within my power right now that I can start to work on or work towards to chip away at this overwhelming and overbearing challenge that's in front of me. So the beauty of all this is that if we can take two things away from this conversation, one is to really acknowledge and it sounds silly, but also honor the fact that I'm currently feeling this, and this is normal and this is okay. And once we stop rejecting this feeling, this sensation, we allow ourselves to actually move into like an observer space of just acknowledging, seeing it, rather than identifying as it and shaming it. Because if I'm going, I'm anxious, I have anxiety right now, and I'm shaming it, I'm actually shaming myself. Not the anxiousness either, right? But when I can step back and look at the anxiousness, or if you want to call it anxiety, whatever, and just acknowledge it and realize that it's pointing towards something, it's trying to tell me something, and listen to it, right? I actually move into the observer and stop identifying as it. It's a really powerful space, because from there I can see it objectively and start to make decisions and make shifts as I need to. It's a really powerful thing. And there's been times in my life that I have constantly felt like there's just this weight bearing down on me. There's so many things to do, and my trained reaction is to sort of get angry at it, right? Get frustrated and angry, and it's a protective mechanism. And this is one of the things for me that I still will see from time to time, that it's so crucial for me to be able to see that and just allow myself to understand that that's my brain and my body is just trying to communicate something to me, and if I can just stop and listen for a moment, then I can make sense of it and make decisions. And the way that we clean a room, if the room is messy, the way we clean the room is doing one thing at a time. Don't try and clean all the things and move all the things. If you're going to clean your room and if you're going to clean your mind, you simply focus on cleaning one thing at a time, and you finish it, and then you move on, and before you know it, the whole room's clean. And it's one of the ways we can look at our mind. But on that note, team, I am done. Thank you very much for tuning in. If you haven't already, you should definitely get your ticket for the Mood Prep Live concert. Let's say concert. Fucking make it a concert. That'd be sick. Up in Sydney on the 21st and 22nd of September. The tickets you can get online at davenixon.com.au. There's still early bird tickets available. If you're curious about what we're going to go through, then today on this podcast is probably an example of some of the stuff that we will be covering. So allowing ourselves and giving ourselves basically permission and power to be able to see these sorts of difficulties and challenges, and how to get through that, and how to navigate through those murky waters, and also how to help other people do it as well. But otherwise, definitely get your ticket if you're keen to come along. If you have any questions, you're more than welcome to reach out to me either on Instagram or also on email. You can do that through my website as well. But team, that's me done for today. You should totally join the Facebook community, which is the Mood Prep community on Facebook, obviously, and join the conversation there. But that's me. I'm done this time. I know I said that 3 times. Until tomorrow, peace and pizza. Kick today in the dick and slay the dragon. I'll see you soon.
to be everything at once. Be unblinded, be unlearned, be unbridled and unburned.